blanket that Syrian activities, President Assad asserts that the Syrians alone can end the crisis and defend their homeland. And Syrian armed forces continue their operations in various areas, and the Minister of Defense tours al-Khalidiye quarter in Homs. Popular demonstrations in Turkey in protest against the trial of those charged with an attempted coup against the Turkish government. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. On the eve of Al-Qadr night, President Bashar al-Assad attended an iftar banquet with Syrian social and political activities, including politicians, independent figures, Muslim and Christian clerics, and unions and civil societies. The President gave a speech about preserving the values of ethics and love in the month of forgiveness and toleration of Ramadan. The President differentiated the national opposition, which participated in political activities, from the opposition which only aims at selfish gain and government posts. Some members of this false opposition got money directly or indirectly from Gulf states through mediators or from the Arab League. Then they began to blame the government, not the armed gangs, for terrorist crimes. The President added that the heroic acts of the armed forces showed a level of self-sacrifices that was great. The army achieved something almost impossible in very difficult circumstances and under an attack by major powers and their agents. The President pointed out that the army was facing a gang war, which is one of the most difficult and dangerous wars. The army depended on the support of the people, who waged a popular war in turn, side by side with the army. President Bashar al-Assad assigned Prime Minister Dr. al-Halqi to represent Syria in the celebrations of the constitutional oath of the new Iranian President Dr. Hassan Rohani. President Rohani asserted that Iran was seeking peace and stability in this region and rejecting sanctions, pressures and threats. Iran would deal with all countries on the basis of equality, mutual respect and common interests. He added that any political regime should be set up by the people away from any foreign intervention. Iran opposes any foreign intervention or any use of military force to determine the destiny of any people. Nobody is capable of controlling the Iranian people through economic sanctions, pressures or threats of war. The only way to deal with the Iranian people is through dialogue on the basis of equality and mutual respect. In the same context, President Bashar al-Assad sent a letter to the Iranian President Hassan Rohani concerning the strategic relations between the two countries in all fields, and their joint will to confront the Western and American plots and their tools in the region. The letter was delivered by Prime Minister Dr. al-Halqi, who expressed appreciation of Iran's support of Syria, particularly in the economic field during the World War against Syria. This support consolidated the capacities of the Syrian economy and enabled it to remain steadfast. President Rohani thanked President Assad for the noble feelings expressed in his letter. He also stressed Iran's determination to consolidate relations with Syria against all challenges. He asserted that the strong historical relations between the two countries and the two people are built on understanding and on the common destiny. No power in the whole world could shake or weaken these deep relations. Deputy Commander General of the Armed Forces and the Syrian Arab Army and Minister of Defense, Brigadier General Fahad Jassim al-Frij, visited our armed forces, which restored security and stability to al-Khalidiye quarter in Homs. He pointed out that getting rid of the terrorist groups in narrow streets of this quarter was an important military miracle. He asserted that the army would continue to chase the terrorists and save our homeland from their violent crimes, expressing appreciation of the self-sacrifice of our great martyrs who liberated our homeland from the murderers. He added that Syria would overcome the cowardly terrorist campaign supported by more than 80 states trying to carry out Zionist American plot in this region. A Syrian Arab Army unit discovered a field hospital for terrorists in al-Qrir village in Banyan's countryside in Tartus. A military source affirmed that a field hospital was discovered in a tunnel beneath a building in the village, with stolen medical equipment and uniforms inside. Moving to Deir ez-Zor, where the Syrian Arab Army captured a pickup truck carrying a Turkish license number loaded with 4 rockets in al-Hardana village in the Hama countryside, while in Deir ez-Zor, our valiant army targeted a convoy of vehicles, one of which was carrying anti-aircraft rockets and mortar shells. They killed and wounded the terrorists. Also in Deir ez-Zor, units of the Syrian Arab Army yesterday restored stability to the quarter of al-Rashidiyya and killed and wounded a large number of the terrorists who spread sabotage and chaos in the area and displaced its people. A Syrian Arab military unit foiled the terrorist attempt to infiltrate from Jobar to the valley of Ain Tadma in Damascus countryside. An official source said that our armed forces killed and wounded several terrorists, some of whom were non-Syrians, while the others took to the heels. The Syrian Commission for Family Affairs distributed clothes for all the families who live in 3 temporary accommodation centers in Mazze and Dummar on the occasion of Al-Fitr Eid.
Out of its role in protecting the families, the Syrian Commission for Family Affairs distributed large quantities of clothes for the families residing in 3 temporary accommodation centers in Mazze and Dummar ahead of Al-Fitr Eid. The gifts are a small part compared with the support provided by the government for those families. The government communicates with those families through several bodies to help them and to provide material and psychological support for them. In return, residents in those centers expressed confidence that the Syrian Arab Army will rid them of the terrorists who forced them to leave their houses. The initiative aims to return the smile to the faces of the children pending their return to their houses. The Commission of Family Affairs launched a campaign to raise awareness over recruiting children among terrorists and over ways of protecting children in the dangerous areas.
The American newspaper World Tribune asserted that Saudi Arabia sent the head of its intelligence to interview the Russian leaders in what can be considered as the first direct talks to end the crisis in Syria. The paper added that Bandar bin Sultan met the Russian President Putin to discuss the conditions of the ceasefire and the destiny of the armed members of the political opposition. The paper also quoted Russian officials as having said that Riyadh wanted to put an end to the crisis. Saudi Arabia, which is considered the main mentor of the armed gangs in Syria, has concluded that its mercenaries would never be able to overcome the Syrian army. The French Afrique-Asie magazine published an article entitled "Turkey, the Destructive Failure of Policy in Syria." The paper said that Erdogan was setting the house of his neighbor on fire in order to remain the strong man in the area. However, he did not expect the danger to increase and the fire to reach his own house. The paper said that Erdogan considered himself a democratic ruler. However, he has abjectly failed in his foreign policy. He did not remain committed to the democracy, as he claimed. The paper said that Erdogan should have thought of the dangerous consequences of allying himself with France and Britain against Syria. His Western friends did not protect him from the implications of the Syrian crisis, which have become a problem for Turkey itself. Thousands of demonstrators gathered near Istanbul's Silivri court to protest an expected verdict in a 5-year trial over an alleged conspiracy to overthrow Erdogan's government. Despite a decision by Istanbul's government governor, to ban all gatherings. Thousands of Turkish people gathered around Silivri prison in support of the defendants and the trial, known as Ergenekon. Demonstrators held the Turkish flag and chanted slogans calling to put Erdogan into trial instead of those defendants. Protesters said that the case is an attempt by Erdogan's government to undermine Turkey's secular legacy. With this, we come to the end of our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Now to the latest in the world of business and the market news with Vani after the break.